Honestly, the way the dog kind of actually entered the story wasn't purely for an emotional reason, for an emotional response. What happened was we thought way early on, really, really early on into the story development, that it'd be really interesting to as a mechanic, as a gameplay mechanic, to have a dog involved. And we didn't really understand how that would happen and what that mechanic would be, but we just said, well, this would be a really interesting mechanic. We'll put it as a card on the board, and let's follow up on it and see how that could affect the game. One of the things that we tried to do with this game is, as we looked at, there's actually a number of things we did, to tell you the truth, is we looked at the structure of the game, where in the past, where we kind of jumped around a lot, and you were this squad, then you were that squad, and you're never really sort of following a thread. That was one of the things we wanted to change with this game. So you're following a specific thread and a specific person and a character. What we've done is also introduce the idea that the world is a character. Now, it's easy to say, oh, the world's really interesting, and so it must be a character, but that's just actually not the case. If you talk to like writers and stuff, a character is something that has an emotional impact on another character, an emotional impact on a player. So unless the world has an emotional impact, it's not really a character. And with this game, what we wanted to do is we have this mass event that changes the world. And our characters, you start with them experiencing that event firsthand, and then we fast forward 10 to 15 years and pick them up later, now that they're in the military and they're fighting, and this world is where they grew up. This is what they know. So this is where we sort of kind of introduce the idea that the world has an emotional impact now on the players and the characters. We also introduced the idea that your brother is part of your squad. Both you and your brother sort of experienced this event and now are still fighting in a sort of a resistance format 10, 15 years later. There's a lot more to it. There's things like the way the dog plays into the story. There's other bits and pieces that we're not talking about right now, but we're really trying to make it about those guys. We actually got a Navy SEAL, a retired Navy SEAL, who was a guy who had a Navy SEAL dog, and they're both retired actually, and we brought him into the office, and he opened up about a whole bunch of different things, not just sort of the emotional side of how that dog played into his squad in real life, but the tech side as well. So on the emotional side, it was really amazing for us to sort of realize that the dog was a squad member. He was a part of that group. The SEAL actually said he would take a bullet for his dog. The things like you saw in the picture that he's wearing that vest, that's real. He brought the dog in, and he brought the vest in with him, and it's really interesting. What it has on the back is this periscope like device that has a camera in it, and he can unlatch it and it pops up. And he's got a screen on his arm that he can watch whatever's coming through that camera. And then on top of that, the dog is wearing an earpiece, and so he can give vocal commands to the dog as if he were giving commands to a squad member, and have the dog do various things and be watching it through the camera. On top of that, the dog's actually wearing these vibration devices on his neck, and he can push a button on this screen, and that will cause like the right one to vibrate, and that will tell the dog he needs to move to the right or move to the left. Honestly, after talking with that SEAL, it was a no-brainer for us. We needed to do this. When it comes to all the art assets in the game, in general, and this is for this is kind of a weird part of it, but this is for both next gen and current gen. We've increased poly count by about 2 to 3 times, depending on what you're looking at. For characters, it's maybe 3 to 4 times. For vehicles, it's maybe 3 to 4 times. For some other things, maybe it's only 2 to 3 times. So there's sort of a range. It depends on what it is we're talking about, but we did actually increase across the board everything 2 to 3 times. That's just the start, though. That doesn't include any of the tessellation. So it doesn't include the sub-D. That doesn't include the displacement mapping. So when you add those things on, and remember, the artist didn't create that object at that sub-D level. That's the technology of the engine actually creating those polygons on the fly, and it's determining in a sort of, you know, its own right. It's thinking where those polygons should go. We're not telling it where they need to go. It's using its own tech to put those polygons, and as many as you need. So the closer you get, the more it will add. Further back you get, it'll just reduce until it knows that is a perfectly round circle.